But other things, there comes a time to accept God's forgiveness, forgive yourself, and move on. Which moves me, as far as responding, to 3 uses of the past. The past has 3 uses and 3 uses only, black and white statement. 1 is to savor it, remember it, enjoy it. 2nd is to learn from it. And man, are there people out there that do not learn from their past. They don't get it. They never integrate it. And 3rd is forget it. It's gone. You can't relive yesterday. Or the day before, the day before. So the past, savor it, learn from it, or let it go. Bob?
That doesn't mean you don't have to pay the consequences.
Oh, absolutely not.
So his wife has grounds for divorce.
She does.
Of course, if you got an STD, that magnifies it.
That would create a further difficulty.
Yeah. If I could give it a little bit of a happy ending twist to this. It is more than 5 or 6 people, I don't know how many, but have come, and I've been working with them in church, and they, you mean I can be forgiven? Yeah. Yeah, let's get into it. And they come with a guilt complex to the church because their life is lost. You know, it's over. It's done. They can't do anything about it. And fortunately,
Excuse me,
help.
black and white thinking,
Turn around.
generalization.
And but the happy ending is it can be turned around, and it has been.
Next is magnification. You exaggerate the importance of your problems and shortcomings. Or you minimize the importance of your desirable qualities. I think I skipped one. I apologize.
Jumping to conclusions.
Yeah. How about discounting? Did I skip that too?
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm a rotten, no good presenter. And I'm generalizing all right. Let's talk about discounting. Discounting is where the good things in my life don't count. Or the good things in other people's lives don't count. So I just discount. I don't consider them. And discounting goes on all the time. I discount because of something I dislike. So I'm considering somebody for a job that I'm going to hire, and they have many good qualities, but they have this one thing that I'm not so sure about, and so suddenly the other qualities are lessened. Maybe the answer is not to hire the person. I don't know. But we've got to be careful of discounting ourselves. The young lady that I told you about who had the abortion was discounting herself all over the map. All of the good that she would do, all of the kindness she would do, all of the sacrifices. Doesn't make any difference because 20-some years ago, she had an abortion. That's discounting. Jeff? Yes.
I have a personal challenge with that subject. I wonder, it relates to that true things to do with the past. How do you, is there a conflict between discounting and forgetting? I find personally that past things that you might want positive things. I have such an interest in tomorrow that I don't really, I'm like, yeah,
Remember our definition of the past. Savor it,
yeah.
learn from it, so that it may have a real relevance to today. Or let it go. A lot of past things are going to be useful, but many we can learn from. And that's how we go into those.
If you're letting it go, is there a conflict there that choosing to let something also have the effect of discounting positive things.
That's right. If I keep letting go of something that is really important and something that affects my life and functioning, then it doesn't belong in the category of letting it go. See, this is where you have to figure out what's important and what's not. The fact that your sister-in-law said something to you that you didn't like and made you unhappy at one point doesn't mean that you hold on to that forever and ever and never have a good relationship. It may be best to work that through and let it go. And also think of the good times you had with her and her family. Or to learn that in this particular area she's sensitive, and so I'm going to be careful and cautious there. These are fine lines and things that you must think about and reflect with a good friend, a mentor, a counselor, because they're not black and white, to go back to our discussion.
Yeah, I want to make a point. This week I talked to an individual, my daughter goes to a Catholic school, and she's 5 years old, and we do volunteer, hours. And I was talking to a man, he's about 32 years old, and I asked him, are you going to be a part of doing these hours? And he said, he's 32, he said, you know what, I'm having a hard time because when I was 18, I got 2 DUIs right away. And so now, they're going to do background checks, and this was 12 years later, and he's still, he was thinking the DUI, and the pros would be him getting involved with his daughter's life, but he's thinking that the DUIs are holding him back. So he's not moving forward because of those DUIs, but if he took a step of faith and, got involved, there would be so many more pros than that one DUI. And then you don't know where God's working. The person reading the application may have gone through the same experience or whatnot, but he's holding himself back from experiencing and growing.
Good point. And next I want to talk about jumping to conclusions is mind reading. We could spend a whole session on this. This is where you assume other people's thinking without checking it out. You haven't seemed to jump up and down during this presentation, so I assume it's boring for you and that maybe you haven't really liked it. I make that assumption. But I don't know that. I could take you aside, however, and say, how do you feel this thing has been going? Has it been worth it for you so far? You can say yes, you can say no. You can say, well, I'm kind of thinking about that. He is the one who's responsible for communicating to me his feelings, rather than me saying, everybody doesn't like me. I suck. I'm lousy. And I come up to notice the bad thinking then. It's black and white. It's generalizing. It's jumping to a conclusion. How many times have you said to one of your kids, I know I have, I know what you're up to. I know what you're thinking. And sometimes I've been right, but I've been wrong. A number of times too. And then, negative forecasting. This is a real problem. Negative forecasting, and you know people who like this. I don't care what you say, what you do, what you propose, they immediately go to the negative. It's not going to work. Let me show you why this is a loser. Let me show you why this won't happen. So we're always looking for the negative. We're always looking for that which is less than positive. These things will lead you to a lot of psychological pain. If you live your life jumping to conclusions through mind reading and negative focusing, you will go through a lot of pain and difficulties. In our next section, I'm going to be doing a rather extensive explanation of what we call projection and introjection. That is what's behind jumping to conclusions, but that's later. Magnification, which I almost started, but then realized I'd gone too far. You minimize your shortcomings, and you exaggerate the negative things about yourself. And there are people who do that. They continue to magnify their negative qualities or magnify the negative qualities in others without seeing the entire picture. Fancy term psychologically for that, there's a whole school of psychotherapy in it, which is called Gestalt. What Gestalt means, essentially, is a German word that just means whole picture.
Well, couldn't magnification also be the opposite? When you constantly magnify, you look at the negatives and ignore the positives.
Yes. Yes.
So really, it's just focusing on one or the other.
And there are people in La La Land who magnify the positive to such a degree, they don't even have a cold, they have a warm. And that's another extreme. Part of the idea of life is to live in reality, and a healthy version of reality. And then, here are 3 words that are like swear words in the English language. I'm sorry, in behavioral health language. 3 naughty words. Should, ought, and must. If life were right, I should right now have so much in my retirement. I should. For a man my age and the time I've lived, things should be this way. And whether or not, I should all over myself. My wife should be doing this. My son should be doing that. My daughter should be doing this. Should. Well, they're not gonna because of your shoulds. And related is ought. The pastor, every time he gives a sermon, ought to give a really good, exciting presentation that is life-changing. Our pastor is boring. He doesn't. We're paying him good money. He ought to. Well, you could ought yourself to death. If my boss were a decent boss, he ought to give us a bonus at the end of every year. Or must. In order to be okay, I must have this. I must do that. I'm not trying to be crass. It's in the literature. It's called masturbation. One must do this or that. You start musting, oughting, and shoulding, and just listen to your own self-talk. It's loaded with